I'm uploading to YouTube of the meeting for viewing. The link is available on the Combined Farm Authority website. Any interruptions will incur a £10 penalty for the chairman's charity. I've not forgotten. I've received apologies for absence in Councillor Harvey. Do you have any other items? Thank you. Respective items on the agenda. Does anyone have any interests which they wish to declare? No. Chair was the first to take urgent. I've not been notified of any urgent items. Announcement today. In respect of the appointment of the Section 151 officer, the closing date for this now closed. There's been some success with 7 applicants, which has been shortlisted to only 2. It's pleasing to report that the interim arrangements with Colette Sutton are working very well. The significant improvements are already. Item 5. So first, we need to confirm the minutes of the meeting. Agenda pack. I move that the minutes of 23rd of July 2024 be taken as read, confirmed, signed. If I have a second, please. And words those in favour, please show. That's adopted. Agenda. It is the draft statement of accounts for 2023-24. This is on pages. Colette Sutton, Head of Corporate Finance, will present the report. Please, Colette.
Good morning, everybody. And they're presented today for Corporate Governance Committee prior to going to CFA Committee for approval. Which is the 30 working days to Tuesday, the 24th of September. It's noted that they may be subject to amendments following. The core report notes the principal financial statements, which are the balance sheet, the cash flow, the income and expenditure statement. On a slightly different basis to the internal management accounts, and these will be going to committee in October. Usable reserves such as pensions, and note 23 shows that we've got in the CFA usable reserves of 20 or earmarked reserves such as capital fund, the estate strategy reserve, which includes the new learning and development facility, and including Grenfell. The final accounts also include the CFA annual governance statement, governance arrangements. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Before we consider and submission of the documents to Combined Fire Authority for approval be approved. No. Second of yes. Renee, thank you. Those in favour, please show. Those are adopted. Thank you for that. It's monitoring, April to July 2024. I think you're going to start now, hand over to your colleague Ben.
I am. Through the report. Thank you.
Morning, thank you, Chair. So item 7 is related to the performance monitoring. Just highlight a couple of areas for the Group 2 notice in paragraph 5. There's some information with regards to the fire alarms over the period. The second item in that same paragraph is around non-fire incidents, which I'll link back to later on. Change that was approved previously by the Combined Fire Authority for the 10-minute life risk response time, and also with regards to you will see that we are meeting both of those targets through Q1. Bringing your attention to paragraph 9. And the affecting entry and exit and assisting other agencies. Been a considerable amount of work over the last 18 months in terms of incidents. We don't expose our staff to any potential injury for incidents that we should not have attended, and also we don't propose any. Finally, into paragraphs 10 and 11, you'll notice that this is in relation to our fire prevention. Looked at this morning, we are ahead of target within the financial year, and the information that we've also got in paragraphs both all through response, protection and our prevention activities, the 100% satisfaction which is one. I'm happy to
The firefighters putting into whether it says suicide incidents, etc. I just wonder. Open day with the issues they face.
So our health and wellbeing leader, Ange Jones, negotiators, and it's provided a bespoke package. So this has enhanced our original guidance that we'd already got, where potentially we could go to that. In these instances, we've got some initial first line guidance. With working with the negotiators, be able to do some practical scenarios. Come and provide further support. So that's an evolution of what we've previously given out, and that will be rolled out to all staff once we've completed.
It's the trauma they experience, and I just wanted to ensure that we can support our firefighters as much as possible.
Your take on the support that we do offer is slowly gathering momentum. So we've put some management mitigation in place which we make sure that that happened. And then there's the offer of it for those who choose to take that. So it's
Question from me. Personal comment. I'd like to note that the ongoing excellent work in terms of question. Mentioned that road traffic collisions are up and above the 3-year average. Are we?
I think it's probably more than a trend, and the Road Safety Partnership has picked up on this as well. We've improved our data set from the so what we're doing there is to understand each area and actually look at the locality rather than an overall picture. We're starting to implement some of those figures to bring them down.
So part of the reason for asking, obviously, County Council is the local highway authority. Patients which are experiencing particular problems, it would be useful for the county to actually have sort of sight of that and potentially for
Thanks. Just while I'm looking at the previous minutes, I noted who is want to see some, and then you talk about what's that impact on the sort of time spent at incidents.
Yeah, I think as alluded to earlier on in sort of that paragraph 5, when we look at that 3-year average, we are seeing that steady increase. So the aspects that we started to look at was right in terms of looking at the appropriate agency to attend those. It's the third, this engagement with the police. There needs to be a crossover, so clarifying that before we see an increase in that mobilisation for us, is trying to do the prevention bit rather.
Just with transparency that this is a thing that's happening now, so you're aware from the safety point of view what the priorities for our services.
Thank
Thank you, Chair. In paragraph 5, we want to get my head around why there were so many fire false alarms and where does that come from? Because it seems to me that
In the appendix at sort of 1.3, it just highlights, sort of separates out into good intent, malicious, and also operate. One is obviously if you take over the last sort of 10 years, the increase in population, the increase in the infrastructure and the premises, there is an aspect here as those mobilised to more of those. What we haven't seen is a disproportionate growth. So as they've gone up, the unwanted fire signals are going up, but not at the same in time. So what we put in place is some unwanted fire signal procedure, new procedures around those, but whole challenge already in our control room. We'll engage with those through our fire protection teams and the district managers in the actual station site district, so that actually we can start to draw doing that engagement work.
and by apparatus you mean sort of, I guess, fire alarms in buildings.
Yeah, that's right. And whether they've been engineered. Piece, that business engagement is the bit that actually improves the education to ensure that actually we get fewer of those incidents. We have had on occasion. But actually, it's not just about the building and the responsible person, it might be the residents as well.
Thank you.
Safety checks. I saw them as at Pride, so I was met with the people involved or from the. What is the take up of those? You know, when people have a home fire safety check, how many telling them you're giving advice? Do you know if it has an impact and does change people's behaviour or the way they store things? Landlord licensing schemes for rented properties, especially those in multiple occupation. Is there a link? Is it something that we should be looking to pursue?
Okay. So to take your sort of first question around the engagement after we've done that we do, which might be in the initial instance, so it could be a one-off visit.
Yeah.
Where we really see the greatest benefit is where those community educators are building rapport. We've got a hoarding peer group that we started that runs that central once a month. And we have a scale of 1 to 10. 2 of the individual engagement have now come down to level 4. So it's that change in behaviour for a hoarder that might have been doing this for years that is the additional impact. Aspect from the evaluation of satisfaction. Also, okay, what did it mean? What was the outcome to that individual? And with the housing officers.
Yeah.
So we have trained the housing officers with our fire protection teams to understand and identify where they can improve within those premises so we can get the home safety checks.
I'm assuming that the housing officers seem to be most at risk in the private rented sector. So is there an engagement with the licensing through that private sector?
Officer that works within the fire protection teams. However, I do think it's something that we could look at ensuring that we get out to all of those landlords.
Thank you, Chair. Do you still find the public are fully supportive to the service going back? All that type of acknowledgement of the role of what they did and the importance of it. But as we sort of behaviour that is not always helpful, is that sort of lulled a little? Or out for bad behaviour, but other people might call it even more serious than.
And is this the public rather than businesses?
Yeah.
12 years at a pace now, and I think maybe what we're seeing is that as those people have gone through school and had engagement with fire services, that relationship which you may have seen, and what that seeks to do is understand that actually it's a wider range, it's a group of our departments that actually lead to that same the attitude approach. I think really from the satisfaction that we've got from both the crews and the community educators going in, it's clear that actually getting across because we're seeing that primary dwelling fires are continually producing.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, because quite often we have events that might catch the fire brigade come in and they're absolutely. That makes an awful difference in the local community to some extent gets to know there is a local fire service and they're the neighbour. They always roll up if they're not on call with their fire engine and the pits and that's how it's just. As councillors have a role to play and bringing them into our communities.
It's really absolutely.
Fairly recently, the roofs of the good crowd that you see around have CBD, lots of
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In the appendix. It seems to me June stand out 3 or 4 minutes behind what appears to be normal. What's the, again, what are the sort of dynamics that's driving that? Is that to do with where the incidents occur? So June is nearly 11 minutes, where England's around 7.5.
Yeah, I think sometimes when if we look at D on there, the number of life-threatening incidents. Yeah, D. So I think sometimes just you get an outlier with regards. It might be one incident. It might be that it could be not given to us correctly, or the drive time, the extended drive time to there. So obviously, as that data set gets larger, the average sort of gets truer. Needs the targets. We've built that into our instant reporting system now, so it automatically flags up. Can you tell us why? That's good from, say, road closure, temporary road closure, or something on those lines. So I would have to go away to look at the specifics of that, but CRMP objective.
Okay. Right, I move that the performance of the Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service is. Thank you. Those in favour, please show. Let's move on to agenda item 8. That's the 8 actions. It's on pages 135 to 150 in your agenda pack. Julie and Ben, I believe you're taking this.
Service Development Programme and the CRMP 2024-28. The paper covers progress made since November 2023. Outlining the CRMP as discussed earlier. Members will note that there are some extremely big and challenging projects being undertaken. Our service remains one of the best fire and rescue services in the country. In particular, I'd like to draw members' attention to the fleet replacement strategy. The delivery of 7 new fire appliances, which are equipped with the latest technology and support the advancements of firefighter safety. In particular, nothing is taken into the cab on our return from an incident back to the station. The next area I'd like to address is paragraphs 50 on with regards to that clean cab policy for our fleet as we move forwards. As a service, we've been recognised nationally for the work we're doing. We've also undertaken work back on station. So once we've returned that equipment that's now been sealed and not been taken into the cab, in our ability on our return to station, ensuring we're limiting the exposure to any contaminants from fire gases and smoke. Mobilising project. As members will know from previous CFA meetings, with our incumbent system and the challenges. The delivery of this comprehensive project is due to go live in October this year, so we're imminent arrival of that mobilising. 24 and 25, sorry, 25 and 26, which relates to the Eastern Station refurbishment project. This will see us ensuring that the building facilities on that site provide a modern and fit for purpose fire station. It serves the local community for decades. Building work was to move the station and the appliances to the nearby Alderscroft Road Territorial Army Centre. Position by working with them, including how we're going to mobilise, how we'll continue to do training as normal. What it's allowed the contractors to progress and ensure that we complete that work by February of next year. So that completes those aspects around the project. 38. The paragraphs 37 will talk to you around the 3 stations that are now transitioned in June. The next station will be Weaston in September this year, with all stations being completed by May of 2020. The service have continued to deliver a number of courses, including aspiring and emerging leaders, empowering leaders, and introduction to supervision service. And finally, something I just spoke of briefly, we've got the delivery of the Building Improved Trust and Engagement and launched across all social media channels, highlighting what the service does and what the employment opportunities exist, not only on the front line. Back to an earlier point. There has been extensive bus stop signage campaign, further campaigns in terms of promoting this with the that is the headlines from the briefing. Is there any questions?
Questions?
Steve, I think it'd be worthwhile if we could sort of send our best wishes and regional board in and around that area years ago. So I know what work needs to be done. So I think a commendation from us. Thank you.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. Actually, good to see work things were completed and progress, but it'd be helpful just to understand the context of the things in progress. We're assured on progress, rather than opposed to progress, but knowing when we can expect to see if it's on track or if it's not.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, yeah, Alex.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there's that project that's in distress. I'm not sure what we should take from, the fact that it's been paused and the reviewing cost.
Provides the information that our control room essentially needs in relation to firefighting. What we haven't got when I first joined the service is a Firewatch can be used as an integrated HR system. We currently don't hold an awful old system of Firewatch, which is version, I'll make this up, 6, whatever it is. What we're looking at the moment, and it's as part of our move towards data and digital kind of transformation efficiencies, etc., is what the art of the possible to actually upgrade to 7.8, which is an online version of Firewatch, and that would also things like annual leave and timesheets and things like that, and actually give my HR team which will then feed Colette's team from a finance point of view. It actually would become kind of the heart-lung system of the organisation. Sort of 4 corners of the organisation. However, the reason why it's kind of, there's sort of question marks around it is to 7.8. Now we've got the statement of accounts, we're a little bit clearer with regards to the financial situation. Project alongside the legacy arrangements that are the mobilising system, which is due to go live, because without a doubt, there's a high likelihood that, subject to a fair and transparent process, that we would like to move to still a little way to go in terms of scoping it out.
Like it's fairly early days. It's not a situation where it's a project that's got a lot of sunk costs and
Currently with them as a client, the costs will be the upgrade and the time and resources and that shows greater efficiencies in terms of quantity, quality, cost or time invested in that new.
My question is relating to how the CRMP was put together. I remember on the previous one, to make recommendations and changes before it actually came to the full CFA body. From the county for this one, but I never ever heard anything after that, so don't know if any CFA members and if there was a change in the policy, then what we know.
My understanding was that the CRMP had been effectively written at the point at which I'm joining the service, but on the basis of that, my understanding was that there was a had been established what the level of engagement with whether I'm sure appointments did go out. I don't know.
Project was set, started, that's the intention. I think the aspect as well is sometimes is you looking at items that start. If actually broadly we don't expose or don't expect some of those things, there might be less involvement required. To just go back and check just the timeline of what was shared and when, but I do know
There wasn't about sharing it, because we were there in the meantime.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, my little intervention is, yes, I do recall, and I thought they were very worth right at the early stage, not getting right the way down, you suddenly think, oh, well, nobody said or we didn't realise. So I think it's fundamental. Way to have that involvement. I thought it was an asset, not because the discussion we had with officers and you could see their reaction. Down, but it was really, I thought it was very vibrant. It was very worthwhile.
I think it was very much a two-way learning process, because I learned and nobody had communicated that to me before. And we were also able to talk about things which we knew about our communities. To be kept open, that were possibly under threat, and where vehicles ought to be when discussions about moving them around came. And also day-to-day conversation, and it was about having an understanding. And then it becomes useful for future scrutiny, because we understand what the process was and why something was where it was in the first.
the philosophical point that actually we would want engagement with you as members, because in effect it's your CRM. I can't respond specifically to the what and why and how. I would need to go back and
Yeah.
ask the question. I certainly. And in fact, without unwittingly drawing Gemma into a conversation, we are proposing in the around June or July time to do some of that engagement, to talk members through what some of our refresher with reintroduction, potentially new members, etc., etc. So it's certainly not gone off the radar, and I can only apologise if in the diary, if they weren't, as I say,
Because we were nominated from
who
the
was the RMP steering
Yeah,
group.
yeah. And I which was a national thing where we were talking about engagement with fire authorities. So it was useful, and it
So I move that the progress made since July 2024 to begin the CRMP 2024-2028 be noted. Second, please. Thank you. Those in favour, please show. Item 9. If we move on now to progress against internal audit plan for 2025. This is pages 1 by Services. Matt Davis, Audit Manager, will present this item. Beyond Matt, over to you, chaps.
Rhetoric plan, and then a slight pause for questions, and then moving on to the topic sector. It's okay, I'll do it that way. So thanks for committee on 13th of March 24. Going straight into the report on paragraph 6 of legacy high importance recommendations, but as I always say, we deal with this more thoroughly in paragraph 14, so I'd like to pick that area up there. Paragraph 7 of the report is strictly the progress we plan. Paragraph 7 just reaffirms what was said to the July committee. Any interpretation was greater substantial assurance. So all prior year work that's relevant to financial years was completed with a healthy assurance. Again, as per paragraph 8, we've got 11 distinct areas. One has been completed draft reports, which 9. So to be honest, for this stage in the year, when many of the audits are deliberately backloaded into later quarters, I'm satisfied with the progress made. Work in progress, to think it adds a bit of context. 1 is nearing completion. 4 are scheduled as we've set for the final quarter of the year. 2 are areas in relation to procurement, which we're going to come on to. And 1 importantly is the use of monitoring position, and that's as detailed in paragraphs 12 and 13 of the report. Should point out this is in respect of identifying the need for us to do some look at the financial monitoring procedures. It's highlighted it's partial. This committee, we delayed until the November committee, so we thought it was worthwhile doing a piece of interim work just to make sure they're ready. So, as I said, in terms of progress for the financial year, we're where we'd like to be with the 24-25 plan. Heavily paraphrased recap, there were two areas, one in respect of procedurals, and that's training that took place in this single supply benchmarking. And then the second one was in relation to accounts payables, and this was so moving on to those in particular, the contract procedurals, signed digital contract. The training was March 24, the monitoring of training was the end of this month, and the periodic benchmarking was due in July. And with regards to the centrally held contracts, we were still finding that information was missing and or out of etc. So that needs to be updated. In terms of the actual procurement training, the training had not been undertaken, but and it was waiting for information from the to be informed through the National Flight Chiefs Council. I say read well before the public procurement regs came into place, and it was initially intended to cover areas of procurement in accordance with the processing through Agresso doing it correctly. So it got more of a local slant to it as well. It's a sort of two-fold training. Training's not took place, the monitoring will be being carried out. So by the end of this month, so I'm just flagging that that would be a delay again. Again, that's not due until December, but we'll be looking at readiness in the next quarter, but with a view to and then obviously before completing the area in respect of procurement, I did want to draw your attention. We're doing a separate piece of work in readiness for the public procurement regs, and there's obviously synergies between this. So just in respect of that, the sort of specific areas we intend to cover, policies and procedures in place, requirements and associated governance and training aspects. Just summarising that work, because it's not due to be complete until work has been undertaken to address the required changes within the contract procedure rules. And I believe that will go to the next concerns, predominantly in respect of the training being cascaded down from the national level, and also the continued work required in bringing the contract forward. And today, I know there was a further meeting between the service and the monitoring officer regarding readiness. So that's just to bring people totally up to recommendation, which was in respect to accounts payables and the checking of bank details. Subject to undertaken, the testing sort of revealed that it's very robust. The work that's being undertaken as an interim measure to check the actual permanent solution with workflow is due to go live at the end of September. So we have got our colleagues that you will test it, look at the process notes. So whilst I really wanted to conclude and say that work's completed, it made sense really just to bring it back and then find out there may be problems with the final solution. So I very much doubt there will be, but it was just, yeah, to be safe and be able to report that it's finally closed.
Karen, I'm just concerned about lack of information because, you know, when parties get together in this sort there, make it right, because when it talks about holding it all, it's just another flag that, you know, it's going to delay. You know, if we, I presume the authority will slow it getting all the paperwork to you that you needed. Or
The paperwork wasn't on the system, the contracts weren't on the system, or they were out of date. So, for example, those contracts that when I've requested information from the service, if it's been available, actually getting it to be fine. It's just number one, snagging issue. The aids that are outside my control and partially outside like the services controls, fire chiefs can.
Really, it remains a concern of mine coming into the service around the procurement information that we hold and that. Fix around the contract procurement changes in a second or two. We are actively working the plan diverse, shall we say, and not consistent for a variety of reasons over a period of time going back probably about 4 or 5 years. With the ongoing selection process behind Colette as the interim Director of Finance, that expectant that will bring about a level of consistency. The major procurement actors, if you like, are various with the procurement of vehicles, etc., etc. We are now speaking very only going back over old contracts, but actually putting those contracts into that central place. So I'm not going to sit in front of them and say there hasn't been a problem. I'm confident that going forward, it will be in a better place, let me put it that way. With regard to the Act, Matt's quite right. We have been working with the county, and indeed we will take a decision. Help us with the development of a revised procurement strategy. I've met with Gemma, and we will be bringing a scheme of delegation for which the CFA and more importantly the officers of the fire service actually so I totally take on board the point that it hasn't been done. I can't do anything about that. What I am doing is we do get quite a significant turnover of staff in officer level, particularly at state. We only anticipate that development will need, in its broadest sense, will need to roll out to about 35 individuals because it's only that for acquiring stuff, whatever those things might be. The bigger contracts are dealt with by my head of major. The NFCC courses in relation to starting to get to grips with what those changes further assurances in November. We simply are a very, very small organisation with limited capacity to all members of staff on the NFCC call yesterday, which was led by Blue Light Commercials, that changes actually are and the requirements of that. I've also enrolled for my sins, and I might say naivety, on one of the government deep dive into the murky world of contracts and procurement very, very shortly. So I'm reassured now in a place to give you more assurance around the training and the sort of policy changes that need to take place. And I think, without wanting to jump over the hurdle too soon, we are in a much better place than we were 2 to 3 years ago. I will get to the November committee, and that we are going out to look for a new, yeah, that's the system that we use. And I would expect that those checks and balances will be part of the new system. We do try and maintain a good relationship. We sometimes can't move as fast as one might hope, simply because we haven't got the capacity. Whatever we need to do to get over the line.
So on the way on this work in progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Be accountable, we're too small to make excuses. You know, I don't mean that in a nasty
No.
way, but, you know, it's the world. Our jobs will be on pretty smart and keep the thing running.
Absolutely.
No,
I completely take that. Yeah.
Effectively. So, and I think in some readiness. If I can give you an example of what's going on in County Council today, is procurement trade 2 days. Reason why that is very late when you think it's coming into effect in October is because because that information will be ready. So to that extent, this service is so what we've discussed with Judy and with Mike in procurement team council as a way to make sure so we will use the county council or CBRs and procedural rules, bring those to this authority. And have those adopted. So the next week, we can then, I mean, ordinarily, we come to we have the draft of the county council, so it would be impossible to achieve it's a claim tree. Proposing to do chair is to bring the CFA to be approved in October, so there's a compliance set of rules in place. So obviously we'd like to get it right to the first. In the service with a view to engaging with them to get a contract in place. So I think this authority is represented so when the legal regulations. So I hope that's for some reassurance. It's not just this authority, yes. County working through them steadily, and we will do so.
If there's no more questions, I just want to conclude on that in the report very, very quickly, Chair. So just to let the committee know that the global standards have been rewritten, and what happens then is that they are the last revision which was standard was something like 7 years ago. So we have reported to the previous committee in GDA. We wanted to get that going at the time, so we didn't have the impact of trying to assess what the new stuff would be. It's very important for this committee, whether committees are attend that one of the domains within the new standards is around responsibilities, not providing detail and monitor support so there will be some members move up to this committee to explain that. The consultation is imminent. Well, the chair, the statutory officer, or written to director, etc. If not,
Neil, thank you very much. The personal note, the legacy of items with go back to 20. Get to a point where we can draw a line under them and sort of move on. Thank you. So I'll move that the report be noted and we can all back effectively containing 5 important recommendations outstanding. These continue to be retested. Work is progressing well with the 2024-25 audit plan, and it remains at the stage anticipated for this time of year. Respect of readiness and investment requirements, Buildings Act 2023, in time for the go live date of 28th of October. Provided by the Head of Internal Audit Service to implement revised sector internal audit standards. A seconder, please. Agenda item 10 is an organisational risk register. Thank you, Mr. Trevor. 206 of your agenda pack. You don't legal representative.
I will, Chair, thank you. It's for note, but I will just take them. SLT strategic leadership team review the corporate risk register on a regular basis. It comes into our monthly. Into 3 key areas, one being corporate risk, the second being project risks, and the third being health and safety risks. And I'll go through that in a second. That's essentially around workforce planning and the unpredictability of work. To improve. It's the unpredictable nature these days of kind of retirement profiles and the time taken to get firefighters sort of The key risk that we've all been, I'm just trying to find a word really. The mobilising system was a key project at 11.8. You'll note that that talks about a failure of a key supplier. That's not it's going to go live on the 7th of October as planned, but we continue to keep that on the risk register because we do need to keep being reassured that the system's going to work. To reassure members, all of the tests so far are going extremely well and there are no B there. We were unfortunately on the precipice last year, earlier this year, time flies, doesn't it, of industrial action through the settlement of a pay award. We do keep that on the risk register though, because that's probably our main really. Members can't fail to have noted the at 17.5, that's E in the report, the Grenfell Towers report that came out. National report, so that kind of external driver that does have an impact on our delivery of service is one that we a debrief around the sort of outcome of the Grenfell Towers report that came out last week is the government itself report and the recommendations therein. It's likely that there will be legislative changes that do impact. Essentially, it'll be around our role for enforcement, some of the things that Ben's team get involved in. So something that we keep a watching brief on and our ability to respond to those sort of national reports. Expression is the risk of cyber attack, and obviously the city council had its own experience. Yeah, very, very aware of, and we continue to be cited on that. Is again around the fire training unit, which has been added as M in the report. Links to chapter paragraph 14, which is, and again, I guess in relation. Members will be aware that the fire training unit that we have at Loughborough is now failed. And that's why the new training centre facility is becoming more and more necessary, essential. Is a problem, as a risk for us. We have got mitigation in place in terms of where we go to do that fire training. Seems to be of concern for us and why that training centre is a priority for us. The actual risk register itself, but I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
I'm looking at a black and white copy. Can you just clarify which two of these risks are at management level of corporate? Is it 15?
On the actual table, are you looking at?
On the risk register, yeah. Failure of
that relates specifically to the mobilising project.
Yeah.
And actually, to be fair, it would also be alternative Scania or Emergency One who supply our fire engine and fit out our fire engine. So a massive key sort of supply.
Maybe it's one for other members as well, but I feel that there might be some value for risks at that higher. Because taking 1504 as an example, it obviously scores very high, and the only information we have collaboration insurance learning development concerns. I don't have any insight into the effectiveness of those or how well instantiated they are in the organisation. So
Like that, if voters would be happy to perhaps a link that you can click onto. 224 pages of for you to wade your way through, but it's a valid point, and I'll ask my officers to pick that up.
Okay, can I just assess, the risk is disclosed to the minister.
Yeah.
So I just need to.
As I should have just mentioned that, yeah, I think.
Any other questions? Okay. Move that the report, the organisational. Agenda item 11 is well in the agenda. Lauren, you'll be presenting this item later.
Really good report, independent persons to support, advise and assist in relation to conduct allegations under the member code. With the King's accounts. Their term of office expires at the end of September. So over the summer we had a participated in the exercise of Insight Council Osman and Mr. Champion on behalf of the CFA and County Council. Is to recommend that they be reappointed without further interview, noting that up-to-date references have been taken. Two new applicants were interviewed, Ms. Green and Ms. Kingsley, and both of whom are condition this two of them, and this is an issue that in the end the CFA will make the two of them interviewing members. Miss Cathedra and Miss Herring have not been either.
Okay, any questions?
Just a comment.
Oh.
Those strongly appropriate candidates that applied or the ones that were interviewed were the only comment that it is now mostly whereas it was evenly balanced before, but that's not something that could be done.
That's all. I move that. A, the decision taken by the appointment committee by the position, rather than invite them for interview, be noted. B, it be recommended that the combined Gordon Grimes, Bryn Sharma, Pamela Roberts, John Pilgrim, and Hamlet Kingsley to serve as okay. And C, that Ms. P. Herring, Ms. H. Teacher, we thank their valuable work. That's everyone. Move, number second, Betty and Sessions, those in favour. Just like it's like, I think, come on, yes. Those in favour, please show. Great British summertime. So move on to the most joyful agenda item. On pages 213, 224 for your agenda pack. It's back to you,
Yeah,
Laura.
thank you, Chair. Sort Council did. So I'm just dive straight in, if I may, to the table on page 214. And today, so thank you everyone for that. The conflict of interest policy and the gifts and hospitality. Those were the campaign service and myself and with colleagues in internal audit. Whenever we might be expecting for a service of this size in relation to personal interests. So I think we message and just make sure we're getting that at the right level. For 2022. In addition, last year in the summer, I think the reporting line was introduced. Very appropriate. There's been one anonymous whistleblower referral made to me, which was followed up. But we got to check and sort of clarify some of the issues that information post being updated. And last year, when we had this sort of government policies, so they're in place and in operation. And just to note, as Matt referred to earlier on, the NFI initiative is due to conduct, so that's pleasing to note. Obviously, under the local audit arrangements, we're pleased to have Mr. I did briefly review the buildings, so I think that should be covered that in the item on the progress on the audit report. So any questions?
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions? Can we have a seconder, please? Thank you. Those in. Agenda item 13, urgent items. As I mentioned at the start, we have no urgent items. Agenda item 4. Or the Corporate Governance Committee will be held on 20th of November 2024 at 2 p.m. at Leicester Fire and Rescue Service headquarters. Closed. That's 11:50. That is. So we have my glasses on.